Ecommerce Alive Today presents
Modell Sporting Goods. Maurice Modell was a Hungarian immigrant who arrived in New York City in the early 1880s, finding work selling clothes to sailors on shore leave. He established his store on a Lower Manhattan site and founded a company in 1889. Modell supplied outfits for Theodore Roosevelt's Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War and bought surplus army clothing after the war. All of his 7 sons worked in the store, but it was Henry who inherited the business after World War I service. He became the company's president in 1920 and chairman in 1937. During this time the business became known as Henry Modell and Company Incorporated. Modell's, which had stocked up on army surplus merchandise again after World War I, enjoyed record growth during the Great Depression because of its cut-rate prices. Modell's business also boomed during World War II when the firm again outfitted soldiers. Its chairman, who was commander of an American Legion post, announced shortly after the end of the war that he would sell the company's entire stock of menswear, which was then in short supply. In March 1946 the firm opened the Modell Veteran Training Center on Lower Broadway. Stocked with surplus war merchandise, this outlet also offered 6 months of on-the-job paid training to veterans. When Henry Modell opened the largest of his 5 stores 8 months later in Brooklyn, 15 company-trained veterans constituted the sales staff. Modell's was creatively combating the peacetime shortage of civilian goods by recycling shell cases into lamp bases, protective covering against attacks into low-priced emergency raincoats, helmets into toys, surplus khaki blankets into children's snow suits, and Air Force trousers into slippers. In 1947 Modell urged merchants to reduce their prices. Our stores sold 1,000 dozen of white shirts at $1.95, which cost us $18 per dozen, he was quoted as saying in a New York Times story, and in normal times such merchandising policies are considered unsound. The fact remains that these are not normal times. Merchants owe it to themselves to offer goods at a lower figure, particularly in view of the fact that they themselves are being offered better buys which should be passed on to the public. By this time Modell's had sold more than 1 million pairs of cotton socks at 17 cents each. When Jackie Robinson made history in 1947 by joining the Brooklyn Dodgers Major League Baseball team after a long ban on hiring African American players, Modell's placed Robinson's likeness in the company's advertisements. As Jews we knew what it meant to be outsiders, Henry's son William later told E. Lunda Gauld of Crane's New York business. Nothing is more important than a sense of community and harmony. My dad taught me that, he added. By 1963 Henry Modell Company Inc. consisted of 6 stores, including 2 Modell's Shoppers World outlets in East Meadow, Long Island and Paramus, New Jersey, which functioned as discount department stores. In that year the company purchased the bankrupt 8-store David Stores Corp. Sporting goods chain for $31,1100. Modell's closed 2 David locations and rest after the retained stores with young veterans. In 1975 the Modell's chain, now chiefly run by William Modell, consisted of 10 stores in New York City and Long Island, with sales in 1974 of $10.5 million and record profits despite a national recession that struck the metropolitan area particularly hard. "We are a depression-proof business," William Modell told Michael Stern of the New York Times at this time. He continued, "In times like these we don't have to look hard for bargain goods. They are offered to us by the big chains and the manufacturers who want to lighten their inventories for ready cash, and we pass the savings on to our customers." The company's forte was high-volume sales of a relatively narrow range of staple items such as jeans, casual shoes and work clothing, as well as sporting goods. Stores were plain but often strategically placed in high-traffic locations such as Midtown Manhattan's 42nd Street and downtown Brooklyn's Fulton Street. By 1986 Henry Modell & Co. was operating 20 stores in the metropolitan area, including 1 in New Jersey. Sales of its sporting goods and apparel, menswear, athletic footwear and luggage exceeded $50 million in 1985. By this time William Modell's sons Michael and Mitchell were vice presidents in the firm. Interviewed by Carol Riggs for D&B Reports, Michael Modell described the company's traditions as the key to its success. "We're very paternal," he said, adding the people who work with Modells are part of the so-called Modell family. "Our relationship with our customers is based on two things: never lose sight of who our customer is and always give him good value. And our relationship with our suppliers is based on loyalty. Our vendors know that although we may negotiate hard on the price, once we agree to pay, that's as good as gold." Although the company sold 3 Modell's Shoppers World stores to Home Depot Inc. in 1988, turning the business into a real estate company serving as a landlord to the other stores it had purchased bankrupt Philadelphia-based Pauley Brothers the previous year, and it converted other Shoppers World outlets to sporting goods stores. The company began a major renovation of its no-frills stores and an expansion of its merchandise selection in 1991. By 1995, the chain, now known as Modell Sporting Goods, had 48 outlets, of which 32 were in the New York metropolitan area and 16 in and around Philadelphia. Annual sales were estimated at about $140 million. Based in Long Island City, a neighborhood in New York City's borough of Queens, Modell Sporting Goods Inc. a subsidiary was being run by Michael Modell. Speaking to a workshop in 1994, he revealed that the chain was fending off mass marketers such as Walmart stores and the Sports Authority by guaranteeing not only to meet a competitor's price but to rebate 25% of the difference between the two prices. Modell's kept its prices low by such means as purchasing 6-month-old sneaker styles for sale to customers willing to forego the latest Air Jordan. In 1996, Modell's Sporting Goods expanded from 52 to 67 stores by purchasing for about $2.5 million 15 outlets in New Jersey and the Baltimore and Washington, D.C. metropolitan areas from bankrupt Herman's World of Sporting Goods, which had been one of Modell's larger competitors. A retail consultant told Galt the reason for the bargain price was that they're tough negotiators. They hammer away until the economics work for them. And if the numbers don't add up, they just walk away. Prior to the acquisition, Modell's was the 26th largest sporting goods retailer in the United States with $229 million in annual sales. Modell's Sporting Goods was also planning to open at least 5 to 10 new stores each year for the next 5 years. The now refurbished chain consisted of larger stores averaging 15,000 to 20,000 square feet in size and carried more merchandise, including 400 footwear styles and 200 popular brands and licensed apparel including Nike and Reebok. Galt wrote that William Modell and his sons were as tight-fisted when it comes to store design as they are in their lease deals. According to the consultant she interviewed after they took over a Port Chester, New York linen chain, they were in there in 3 days. A public company would have done surveys, design drawings, construction, and months of planning. While not turning its back on suburban mall and shopping center outlets, Modell's Sporting Goods was also making inner-city locations profitable by stocking a streetwise eclectic merchandise mix that included trendy clothing and accessories as well as sporting goods, and featuring a catchy "Gotta Go" to Mo's jingle and radio and television commercials. Many of its stores paid tribute to appropriate sports heroes. The Brooklyn Shopping Center location bore Dodgers memorabilia, and the East Meadow store celebrated hockey's Long Island-based New York Islanders. Concept stores such as 3 Manhattan outlets carried what was described as in-store miniature boutiques. By this time, the chain had found room for women's apparel. Modell's Sporting Goods opened 5 Washington, D.C. area stores in 1996 in former Herman's locations and opened 4 additional area outlets in 1997, including a Modell team stores in the MCI Center and new downtown arena housing professional basketball's Wizards and hockey's Capitals. But William Modell told Galt that New York City represented the company's past, present, and future. Its warehouse remained in the city's borough of the Bronx despite what he called cheaper sites elsewhere, because he said there's more to life than saving a buck. "We have a connection to New York. It's the reason we are successful." In 1997, Modell's paid New York's Metropolitan Transportation Authority more than $100,000 to place its logo on Metro cards good for fares on the city's subway and buses given out free to baseball fans attending the first regular season game between the Yankees and the Mets. The chain also offered a 1-month 15% discount to customers carrying the card. Modell's enhanced its ties to New York professional sports teams in 1998 when it opened a mini-store at the training camp of professional football's New York Jets in Hempstead, New York. By the late 1990s, Modell's was spending $20 million annually on advertising its wares on radio and television, in newspapers, and at ballparks such as Yankee Stadium, where its stadium and arena signs could be seen by television viewers as well as ticket holders. William Modell was chairman of the parent company, while sons Michael and Mitchell were co-presidents. To lessen any potential conflicts, Michael was in charge of real estate and finance, while Mitchell was responsible for merchandise and marketing. Each had children but maintained that no pressure would be put on the next generation to join the business. "You really have to love what you do and enjoy what you do," Michael Modell told a CNN interviewer, adding, "So that's a choice only they could make." Modell's operated 152 stores at its peak, mainly in New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. In recent years, the chain expanded to Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, the District of Columbia, as well as Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Their flagship store was at 234 West 42nd Street near Times Square. CEO Mitchell Modell was featured on an episode of Undercover Boss that aired on November 2, 2012. In 2014, a lawsuit by rival Dick's Sporting Goods accused Modell's CEO of going undercover in their stores to gain access to their retail secrets. Modell's had local specialized offerings and programs such as Teen Weeks, which assists local schools, leagues, and non-profit organizations. Modell's sponsored many professional sports teams in their U.S. East Coast market area, including the Baltimore Orioles, Baltimore Ravens, Boston Bruins, Boston Celtics, Brooklyn Nets, New York Mets, New York Yankees, New York Giants, New York Jets, New York Knicks, New York Rangers, New York Islanders, New Jersey Devils, Philadelphia Phillies, Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia 76ers, Philadelphia Flyers, Washington Capitals, Washington Nationals, as well as numerous minor league baseball teams. Some writers attributed at least some of Modell's problems during the 2010s due to the poor performance of New York sports teams in that decade and the difficulty in selling their merchandise. In the early 21st century, Modell's faced declining sales, which Mitchell Modell has blamed on increased competition, poor performance by professional sports teams, and increased temperatures caused by climate change. In May 2019, Modell lent the company $6.7 million to avoid bankruptcy. In February 2020, the company announced that it intended to close 24 stores. However, in March 2020, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy and announced that it would liquidate its 134 remaining stores, with Tiger Capital being appointed as the liquidator. The liquidation began on March 13, 2020. All their stores were closed by the end of August 2020. Hilco Stream Bank announced that on August 4, 2020, it would auction Modell's intellectual property, including customer data and the marketing jingle. Hilco Stream Bank also placed a stalking horse bid at $1.965 million. Modell's was acquired by Retail Ecommerce Ventures, the holding company founded by Alex Mayer and Ty Lopez, for $3.64 million. The acquisition, finalized on August 14, 2020, includes the brand name, trademarks, domain name, and the "You Gotta Go to Mo's" jingle. The Modell's website relaunched in 2020.
Memories begin here. Memories of goals hitting the back of the net, game-winning touchdowns, and of the first day of school. To help create new memories, we've given over $1 million to local sports this year and made our prices even better on the best brands in the world. Memories begin now. You gotta go to Mo's.
If you have any fond memories, please indicate it at the comments below. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and like.